the past few years, it seems like the light has just disappeared. Charlottesville, immigration policy. I can't breathe. But there's something bubbling to the surface. We are waking up. We are coming to realize that we are more than we know. We are powerful. We are creative. Within us is the power of the universe. This is who we are. We are magnificent and powerful. We are not powerless, but once we align with love and compassion, we are the universal energy waiting to burst through as us. We are the one. We are the power.
So, if you've heard me before, you know that I talk about current events. I talk about things that are going on, because I don't want to have you come here on a Sunday, have some flowery talk that you cannot get some benefit from when you go outside of here, when you are talking to people and when you're looking at the news, because there's a three-dimensional world that we live in where there is conflict, and I just want to give you tools that you can use to hold on to the love and to be the one, which is my new license plate, by the way. Be the one.
Wow.
Because that's the whole purpose here, is to be the one, not to wait for somebody to rescue us, which sometimes, you know, we have that in some religions. But to recognize that we have the power, that we are the one that we've been waiting for. And like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, we are the whiz. We are the wizard within us. We don't need to look behind a curtain. We need to look in the mirror. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. And I just want to talk about today, my topic is manifesting the unseen. Manifesting the unseen. So a lot of times when you turn on the news, or when we're in our families, or when we're at the doctor's office, we're getting some piece of reality, but that's not the whole story. Because if the power is within us, then we need to know how to change that situation around with the power that we have, right?
Yes.
And not wait for somebody else to rescue us, or to be the wizard in our life. And so there's one technique that I want to talk about today, because there's so many things that go into manifesting the unseen. But one that is so important is transmutation. Transmuting. Now, the first time I heard that word was from my mentor, Dr. Paul Leon Masters. He was the founder of the University of Metaphysics.
Wow.
And I'm a minister of metaphysics, as you know, so I talk a lot about energy. That's why there was a lot of lightning in that video, is because our power is electric. And so my mentor, Dr. Masters, would get up on Sunday and he would talk about transmuting our emotions and transmuting situations. I never looked that word up. I kind of, back in those days, this was 20 some odd years ago, I was not the same person I am now. he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself back then. I just saw myself as a social worker. I did not see myself as a minister. I was just part of his congregation. And one time out of meditation, I don't know if I've told you this story, I got a voice, an inner voice that said I was going to be a minister. And I was shocked because that voice might as well have told me I was going to be a rodeo clown. Seriously, it came out of like, what the heck was that all about? So that kind of started my journey with the University of Metaphysics. And I had no clue that I was going to be going on this journey. So when he would talk, it was kind of like that reading that you just did. I was interested, but I wasn't invested by any stretch of the imagination. I had seen speakers and I admired them. I had read self-help books or scanned them. I had seen my share of Oprah shows where there were self-help people on there. I was interested, but I wasn't invested. And there is a big difference. So like I said, my mentor was a wonderful man. I would listen to his sermons. They would wash over me. I would get nuggets, but I didn't get it within my cell of my body. And what he was talking about, when he was talking about transmutation, in the dictionary it talks about taking one substance and then turning it into something new. That's what an alchemist does. It transmutes, let's say, coal, which we love to do, and transmute it into gold. We'd love to do that. Well, think of it this way. We are all alchemists. God takes something and he makes it new. In the Bible it says, I will make something new out of you. I take something old, I make something new. If we want to be aligned with God, if we want that God energy within us operating all the time, we have to have the attributes of God, and one of the most major attributes is transmutation. We need to be able to take something that other people, or even us, we've judged as bad, as negative, as horrible, as disgusting, and we need to transmute it into something new. We need to do that in our lives. We need to do it in our emotions. We need to do it all the time. Why? We need to practice this because the world needs alchemists.
Yes.
The world needs wizards.
Yes.
Right now. And we have that power within us. Let me tell you that we were made that way. We were made to turn things that other people or even ourselves have judged negative and turn it into the most glorious, positive thing. Let me tell you why that's important. When we do that in our lives, and I have to use an example, I'm going to use the example of my father. You've heard me talk about him before. He was an alcoholic, he was abusive, and he had anger issues. There were so many things that I could go on, especially back in the day, about what was wrong with him, because I did keep a list. I kept a file drawer full of negative stuff about my father. Now I can probably give you 5 things. Why? Because I've transmuted that. I saw the good in having this dysfunctional father, and there was so much good. I learned from that experience that people are different, that people have their own struggles, that people have their own pain. It does not mean that I need to carry that with me. It means that I understand, and it means that God has a place and a purpose for them. And it also led my life to people that have pain as a therapist. If it wasn't for my father, maybe I would have been a rodeo clown. I don't know. But my father got me on the direction of mental health. I wanted to find out why my family was so crazy. So there were, you're supposed to laugh at that. Isn't your family crazy?
Yes.
So it leads you in a direction for more compassion. So transmutation, do you see how I transformed that into a positive?
Yeah.
Now with that positive energy, because I used to have the negative energy, because remember, you carry around what you carry around.
Oh, yeah.
So when I had all those negative, horrible thoughts about my father, it didn't just stay with him. I carried that with me. What was my vibration like? Remember that electricity and the thunder and lightning? That's powerful electricity. What I was carrying around was weak victimization energy. That's going to attract more weak victimization energy to me. When I turned that into a positive, I began to realize the power that is available to all of us, because being the one means being that powerful. Amen?
Amen.
What can you do with that power? You can change the universe with that power. But so many of us have not learned to transmute. We can go 50, 40, some odd years holding on to the same pain that happened years earlier. And we think we're righteous because we can tell you about it. Do you know what happened to me? Some crap. Did you have crap? Yeah, let's talk about crap. Do you see how we're passing on that weak victimization energy? You can't change anything with that. You can't change anything with that, but you can keep the crap going with that, because that's what you're talking about. That's what your life is in. That's the people that are around you. It solidifies that. And so what I'm talking about, what changes the world, is transmuting that, finding the good, finding the power. Do you think it's there? Oh, it's there. But you have to be invested in getting to it. And once you empower that, that's where your power is, to change anything. But you have to start with you. You start with your emotions. You start with your baggage. You start with your stuff. You don't look at somebody else and say, well, they have baggage. Let me see if I can fix theirs. No, it's not about that. It's about fixing yours and transmuting it as an alchemist. This is very, very important, because you look at Charleston and you don't feel victimized. You feel powerful. I can transmute that. Let me give you an example. This is how the universe works. This is spooky stuff, okay? Okay, you ready? You're sitting down.
Ready.
You're in this church, so I know you're ready. It's not like I'm out in the street talking about this. They locked me up. Okay, so this is a personal example. Many of you know that I was going to speak at Rhythmia, which is a spa in Costa Rica.
I didn't know.
And I was so excited to go to Rhythmia. They changed the dates, and then I was getting more excited, and I had my sister come. She was going to sing, and I'm getting all this stuff ready. I get a phone call. They said, Karmen, we're going to cancel Rhythmia. Now, I was looking forward to this. It was a spiritual retreat. There were going to be shamans there. I mean, it's a huge event. I was so excited. I said, okay, are you sure you're going to do that? They said, yes. I hung up the phone, and I said, boy, I have a choice. I can really feel depressed, like they took something from me, very victimized. I could really get angry with them. They're the organizers. I have somebody to point to. I'm familiar with that way of going. I said, or I can transmute this. I can be really excited because God has something great for me. And they had to move this out of the way so that I could get to that thing that God has for me. It brought to mind a story that Susan Sarandon told. And Susan Sarandon is a famous actress, and she said, whenever I didn't get a role, and I was wanting this role so bad, and I needed to pay my rent and all this other kind of stuff, and the role fell through, she would look at her money, and she would take herself to the most fancy place she could afford. She would order the most fancy thing, maybe champagne, and she would sit at the table by herself, and she would toast to what's coming. She said, what's coming is going to be great. What's coming is going to be marvelous. I can't wait. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it's coming. And sure enough, great roles would come. Thelma and Louise. All of those wonderful roles that we know her for. But she didn't sit in a corner depressed. She brought it in with that energy. She transmuted something negative into something positive. So I said, that's what I'm going to do. So I called up everybody that was planning on attending Rhythmia. I said, there's been a change of venue. It's going to be moved. I didn't know where it was going to be moved to. I could have said, you know, they canceled it. You know, those people, they're just, you know, blah, 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 blah. I could have done that, but I said, you know, the venue has been moved. My sister said, where is it moved to? I'm not sure yet. But it's moved, it's going to be fabulous. I went out and I celebrated with my son. I can't wait to see what's coming. Charleston, of course, happened a year ago. And I said in my meditation, use me in whatever way you can. I got a call. Karmen, can you come to Charleston, Virginia? There's a Unity conference. Marianne Williamson is going to be the keynote or the opening speaker, and you're going to be the keynote speaker. You're going to be speaking for 3 days in Charlottesville, Virginia. Marianne Williamson? Come on! If you don't know who that is, she wrote Return to Love. She's a studier, a student of Course of Miracles. She's written so many books. If you're in this line of thinking, you know who Marianne Williamson is. It's like Dr. Wayne Dyer. I mean, these are Deepak Chopra. These are the leaders in this thought movement. Did I ever think that I would be speaking with them? No, that's coming up next weekend. I'll be in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I'm over the moon. But I know how it works. Do you think I would be in Charlottesville if I went around talking badly about Rhythmia and how they did me wrong and how life sucks? You know, and I put a lot of work into that, blah, 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 blah. I would have gotten more crap. I would have gotten more of that. You don't dish out something that you're not willing to eat yourself. So I want you to know the power of transmutation. We have to practice this every day in our lives. I don't care if it's traffic. If you're stuck in traffic and your instinct is to get mad, you transmute that. Well, I'm not supposed to get there now. I might have avoided an accident by sitting here in this traffic for 10 minutes. You transmute it immediately. Do not let your brain and your thoughts hang on to the low vibration. Keep it high, because that's where God is. God is operating in a high vibration. This next song I wanted to share with you is an example of Aretha Franklin. The reason I'm going to play her is because I heard a critic, a music critic, talk about Aretha Franklin's voice, and I never really thought of it this way, and then the next time I heard her, I saw it kind of differently. So I wanted to share that with you. It's a perfect example of transmutation because she had a painful life. She didn't want to talk about it because she felt like that would be a lower vibration. She did it intentionally. But if you look at her autobiography and what people have said about what happened to her, you could see that it was negative. But she didn't talk about it. But the critic said there was pain in her voice. There was sadness in her voice. There was anger in her voice. She transmuted it with every song that she sang. And when people heard her and they were sad, they could transmute. Now, they don't know they're doing this. This is done on an electricity level, on an energy level. But when people hear her, if they were sad, maybe they might cry. If they were angry, they would feel righteous because, yes, she's speaking to my anger. If they felt joyful, then they could also get joy out of it. but she was a transmuter. And when I started hearing her music after I knew that, that was what she was doing, it took on a whole different feeling. So in this short clip, I just want you to see her. She often closed her eyes when she was in the zone of her emotions. And so I believe that she was in that God space of transmuting her emotions. Yes, I've gone through pain, I'm remembering that, but I'm also turning it into joy. And then you'll see the reactions of the people that
Amazing grace, the sound that changed.
I never left the church. The church goes with me.
I've been right in the midst of an
life, and artists do this all the time. They're transmuting with their artistry negative situations to positive situations where people can get something from it. So whether you're a painter or a sculptor or a singer or play an instrument, this is what you do. We're transmuters. That's the closest you can come to God, is creating something new. So in those places where you feel that things are negative, or you feel like a victim, or you feel weak, those are the perfect places to transmute into something positive, because there's always something positive there, even if you can't see it right now. And there's so many times in our lives, especially with our age, we can look back and say, yeah, you know, at the time, I thought that wasn't the greatest thing, but now looking at it, that was the best thing that could have happened. So the reason that we transmute is because this is God power. This is what separates the people that are interested or invested. Because if you're invested, this is your superpower. You get to transmute. And this is awesome. So I implore everyone to look at this as a superpower, to change whatever you view in your life as negative into a positive. Now, the reason why we do this is to get that vibration up. You cannot change a situation being a victim. If you've ever done a transmutation in your life, can you raise your hand? If you've ever done it, ever. Everybody has done it at some point or another. Excellent. The reason I ask is because we're in trying times right now. I showed clips of Charlottesville immigration and also I Can't Breathe. These are real things that are going on right now. If you look at them like a victim looks at them, well, I can't do anything about that. That is really horrible. I feel really helpless. That is not transmutation. Whenever you see anything, like, or hear music, whenever you see anything that is that tragic, you go into your space of quiet. Some people call it meditation, but you don't have to be in meditation. You can be right there and affirm the positive. Affirm what you want to see happen. Affirm the life that you are creating. You're a master creator. Let me say that again. Let me give you an example. Let's take immigration policy. This was where kids were separated from their parents. I work for Child Protective Services. I know how damaging psychologically that can be. There were many people in the United States and all over the world, but in the United States, mostly women, because we're nurturers. We know about children. We know about psychological effects of removing somebody from their mother or their father. We were energized. Remember that lightning that was in the video? We were energized because we wanted to create what? Togetherness, unity. That's healthy for kids. So their mind was saying, we're going to turn this immigration policy separation into unity. They thought that first. That is an energy. They mobilized second. That is an energy. That is the energy that changes the world. When we sit back and say there's nothing I can do, well, maybe it's not so bad. We do those things to cope, to reduce the pain. What we do is go into the pain because we're alchemists. We have to go into the pain to transform it into something new. That policy took a few days to disintegrate, to be changed. Because once that mind is activated, it's powerful and nothing, let me just say that again, it's powerful and nothing, okay, one more time. It's powerful and nothing is more powerful than the power that we have within us to change the situation. We are alchemists. We take something bad. We don't ignore it. We don't avoid it. We look at it and say, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that. I've done this before. I'm changing it into something else. With your thoughts, with your energy, with your mobilization. Amen? Amen. We're not helpless. This is the perfect time to be alive. Because if you're a wizard in training, you want a project. You remember in The Sorcerer with Mickey Mouse and the brooms and everything, and he has to, and the mops and everything. He's the sorcerer's apprentice. He's just itching for a project. Give me a project. So what I want to tell you today is that you were born for this. You were woven in history to be alive at this particular time, at this particular moment, because you have been practicing your whole life. And your soul has been wanting, biting at the bit, to get here at this particular time. So this is a powerful time for you as an alchemist. And one of the most phenomenal things is that you get to transmute. You get to be here to transmute this. So I want to tell you that you were born for this. You have the power within you. You've been practicing transmutation. Everybody in this room has done it at some point or another. And with our thoughts, with our mind, we can create the matter that we want. You've heard of mind over matter? You have the power to change everything that's going on within you first and then outside of you second. So this particular song really speaks to that, and it's a powerful song. I want you to get rejuvenated every time you hear something negative. No, I got this.
I take a breath, I'm not gonna lose. This is what I came here to do. I walk that wire and I take that step. Won't look down, got no regrets. Won't look down, got no regrets. I was made for this. I was made for this. Born in the wild, formed in the fire, built for the battle. Oh, I was made for this. I was made for this. Mind over matter, silence the doubters. I have the power. Oh, I was made for this. I don't give up, I won't back down. Goodbye worries, no time to doubt. I feel the power, I won't be afraid. Fear won't stop me, I don't break. I was made for this. I was made for this. Born in the wild, formed in the fire, built for the battle. Oh, I was made for this. I was made for this. Mind over matter, silence the doubters. I have the power. Oh, I was made for this. I'm a soul on a wire, that's where I feel alive. Open up the skies. I'm a soul on a wire, that's where I feel alive. Open up the skies, I am free to fly. I was made for this. I was made for this. Born in the wild, formed in the fire, built for the battle. Oh, I was made for this. I was made for this. Mind over matter, silence the doubters. I have the power. Oh, I was made for this. I was made for this. I was made for this.
I just want you to know that you're a soul on a wire. It's a live wire too. So wake up. We have so much power within us. We can transmute anything. So don't doubt. Don't fear. Just know. And you've been practicing. You were born for this. You were born for this time. We have so much power. And we practice within ourselves first. And then we release it out to be the one. Let's close our eyes and go into our meditation and take a deep breath. We know that as spiritual beings, as spirit, we don't avoid anything. We're not silent. When we do speak, we speak what we want to create. And what we want to create is unity, love, joy. What we want to see in our lives is peace know that when we create that within us, we are matching the vibration of God. And with this vibrational energy, we can change anything. We can transmute anything. We know this to be true. And when we know something to be true, there is no alternative. What we create will manifest. What we create within ourselves will manifest outside of ourselves. So if we cultivate doubt and fear, that is what shows up. Not anymore. Let's take a deep breath. We are not only interested in love, we are invested in our very cell of our body. Every cell, every atom. We have love, compassion. Forgiveness is like our breath. We don't hold on to anything because what we hold on to restricts our energy flow. And we need every part of us to create heaven on earth. Let's take a deep breath. We are the face of God. All we see is the face of God. And when we leave here, all we know is the face of God. We let it be so, and so it is.
And so it is.